FOMO, fear of missing out. We all get it from time to time. The anticipation that we've missed something that all our contemporaries are waxing lyrical about, you know, the latest series on TV, a particular film, or the new restaurant in town. Everyone's talking about it, but you've yet to experience it. And I have been experiencing FOMO for some time now, because there's a car that people have been, well, putting up on a pedestal for quite some time, and I've yet to drive it. And it's this, the Toyota GR Yaris. So it's had a bit of an update for 2025. So I thought, whilst it's not a new car, I'd get one in, I'd have a little try in it and see what all the fuss is about. And then I got an invite from Skoda to come and try their new VRS versions of their L-Rock and Enyaq electric crossovers, which they were launching to the UK media on a rally stage in Wales the same week that I had the GR Yaris. It's like the stars aligned. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the, well, not so new but updated Toyota GR Yaris. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now, before I get started on this week's road test review of the updated Toyota GR Yaris, it is of course the time where I would just ask a small favour from you, if you don't mind. If you're not already a subscriber to the House of Cars channel, would you consider becoming one, please? And then when you've done that, make sure you then press the little bell button, it's down below, because that's the way you receive a notification when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. Once you've watched the review, if you do enjoy it, and obviously I hope you do, give it a little thumbs up. And as always, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars that we feature on the channel, such as Toyota's GR Yaris, and of course on the House of Cars channel overall. Now, I need to be quite clear about this from the very start. Because I've not driven the car before in its previous first generation, guys, this won't be a review of me saying whether this is better than that car or not, because to be fair with you, I don't really know, I haven't driven it. So I am just reviewing this new updated second generation car, because I feel that's the only fair way to do it. And I have to judge it quite dispassionately, because I say I've not reviewed it before, but I've seen lots of people talk about it. And obviously I've seen a lot of reviews and read a lot of things about it, and I know people that own them, and they just keep telling me how wonderful it is. So as I say, that was my main criteria for getting it in its second generation form and seeing what all the fuss was about. But as well as that, there's a little bit of a difference with this car that I have here, and namely to the fact that it only has two pedals and a stick in the centre that only goes forward and backwards. Yes, it's an automatic one, because you can now have the GR Yaris with an 8-speed slush box. And I'm quite excited about that, because I'm quite interested to see whether or not that adds anything to the fun that people talk about, or whether or not it detracts, especially up here in the Welsh Mountains. However, before we start the main review, let's take a look at the brief bullet points on the car. So this second generation GR Yaris continues the trend from before as a bespoke 3-door Yaris derived out of Toyota Gazoo Racing's rally endeavours. It's powered by a 1.6 litre, 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, driving all 4 wheels through either a 6-speed manual or, as we have here, an 8-speed automatic. The car now produces 276 brake horsepower and 290 newton meters of torque for a 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint time of just 5.2 seconds. There's either a standard car like this or 2 special editions available. And prices start at just over £46,000 for the standard car, but climb to over £60,000 for those special editions. Now, spoiler alert here. This car that I have with the automatic transmission and this metallic red paint is a whisker under £50,000. For a Toyota Yaris with a 3-cylinder engine and an automatic gearbox, this is going to have to be something special. Well, let's stick it through a House of Cars road test review and find out if the wait has been worth it. Now, if you've been watching House of Cars for a little while now, and if you have been, thank you ever so much, I appreciate your support. You'll know that I love a hot hatch, and we've tested quite a few on the channel, and there are some that I quite like the subtleness of, the Audi S3. You know, I quite like that Q car look of the Audi. But there's also a little boy racer in me that's desperately trying to get out, that loves the sort of like the flamboyance of a proper little hot hatch. It's why I love the Honda Civic Type R so much. And this is getting off to a good start because this looks like a proper angry little thing, doesn't it? It looks something special. Now, the Yaris is normally a 5-door small Toyota Super Mini. This is a bespoke 3-door body shell. Now, I'm led to believe that the whole idea was this was going to develop for WRC, and then obviously there's going to be a road going for homologation, and then rules got changed and it didn't quite make it onto the rally stage like this, but Toyota thought, actually, let's just keep going with it. And I'm glad they did. Look at it, it's fabulous. It's the size of a shoe. It's just tiny and it's a proper, and that's a good thing. And we'll talk about that when we're out driving it. But look at the way that it looks. It's fabulous. Now, there's been some changes to the first generation car. And it's all sort of like down this area here. You can see here, you've obviously got this grille now. Now, this is metal now. I think this was originally plastic, this honeycomb here. And you've got this bigger air, this intercooler that's tucked behind it with the GR4 lettering across it. And you've now got a 3-part sort of like front bumper here. This is done in 3 parts. It was different to before. And it had little fog lights in here, I think, on the first gen car. Well, there's now additional coolers in here as well. So they're gone. And you've got extra coolers at the side there that feed air into there. And of course, you get these ducts that channel air down into the brakes as well, which are fabulous. And what I really like about it is all the ADAS systems are encompassed into the Toyota badge there. I really like that. That's great. So you don't have this big blocky sort of like, you know, radar guided cruise control sensor there, or, you know, sort of like other bits and pieces around it. I really like the fact that they've put it all in there. That's nice and neat. And of course you get these angry, scowling headlights here, and you know, and the whole sort of like, you know, sort of like butchness at the front of it, these extra white sort of like bits of the arches. I just think it looks brilliant. It really looks like a little bulldog that's spoiling for a fight. I think it looks great. Now, this is a proper small car, okay? It's just 5mm short of 4 meters in length. And if you think that it's just going to be a quick version of the Yaris that your granny drives, well, it isn't, because the only thing it shares with that car is its headlights, the door mirrors, and the roof antenna. That's it. The rest of it is bespoke, including the chassis, because it's got the front end of a Yaris but the rear end of a Corolla. So it's the 2 platforms, you know, all the best bits of that sort of like moulded together to come up with the GR Yaris. Absolutely fantastic. Now, in terms of weight, with the automatic transmission, it's just 1,325 kilograms, which is 20 kilograms more than you get if you go for the manual gearbox car. So that's the weight penalty of having the 8-speed auto. You don't get the circuit pack anymore like you used to in the first generation car. That's effectively standard on this car. So you get the 18-inch BBS alloy wheels as standard, which are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres, and they're 225/40 ZR18s are on this car. And I'm led to believe it's the first time that the Pilot Sport 4S has come in under 19 inches. I did hear that somewhere, so I hope that's right. Aluminium panels. Really lightweight as well, as I say, in terms of the weight, but it doesn't feel cheap. There's a quality feel to the car, you know, when you open and close the doors. And whilst, as I say, it's a bespoke chassis, it's not limited in production, this car. They've sold over 40,000 of them since the car entered production back in 2020. It's a very popular little car, this. And there's a reason for that. Now, the rear of the car has changed, and if you're familiar with it or you've got one, then you'll notice the changes straight away. There's no Toyota badging on it at all. You know, the Toyota logo's gone from there because there's a new light bar, and that's because they've moved the high-level brake light from the spoiler into this light bar now, which is a good thing, because that means that this spoiler can be changed. So tuning companies, Toyota themselves, with the 2 special editions, they've got different rear spoilers on them as well, so you don't have to worry too much about the wiring of there. The reverse lights have also moved from down at the bottom up until here as well, because what was happening was they were so close to the exhaust on hotter climates, or dare I suggest cars that were being used enthusiastically, they were finding the lights were actually melting. So that's changed as well. You still get your twin exit exhaust, obviously, as you expect, your titanium sort of like finished GR4 badge there, and your GR Yaris badge over there, and it looks really nice. It looks squat and purposeful. It's a bit of a shame the Toyota badge is gone, but you know what it is because it says Yaris on it. But it's a great looking little car, I think, I really do. There's no rear wiper on it, which I thought would really annoy me, and in some respects it has a little bit, but that's such a shallow rear window. It would be almost useless. The wiper they put on it would be so small, it'd barely do anything on that. So That's just one of the things you've got to put up with on a bespoke little car like this. But I love the way that it looks. I love it in this red as well. I don't think there's a bad colour for it, in fairness. And I've really, really been impressed by it. And it does catch people's eye. It's one of those cars that, you know, if you know, you know what it is. So, you know, it may say Yaris on it, but as I say, it's very far removed from the Yaris that your granny drives around in. But it doesn't really matter what I think. What do you think? Have you got one? Have you got one of the first generation cars? Are you pleased they've left the styling well alone? Would you prefer to see them do a little bit more to it? I mean, as I say, you get the special edition models, but they're quite pricey. But would you like to have maybe seen bigger spoilers or different body kit or different wheel options or different car? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you're interested in a hot hatch, do you think it looks hot enough? Would it tempt you, even at £50,000 nigh on? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now, the reason that I like hot hatchbacks is because, well, they're hot and they're a hatchback because they're practical. Is the GR Yaris practical? Well, not massively so. It's 174 litres of boot space. That's what you've got, which is quite small in fairness, but it is quite a small car. If you fold down the rear bench, then it takes total capacity up to 768 litres. But look, you know, I mean, as I say, I'm up in Wales, I've got my, you know, my big, proper big 40 odd litre rucksack in there with all my camera gear and my overnight stuff, and that fits in. I've got my helmet with me as well, just in case, and I've got an umbrella in there and a tripod case as well. And it's a split fold rear seat as well. So there is an element of practicality about it, but let's be fair, you're not buying it because you want to move sofas, are you? You're buying it because you want to get somewhere quickly. But in fairness, for a small car, it's okay, but it could be better. Let's just leave it at that. Now the problem is, I was going to show you the back seat, but the thing is, the seat now doesn't slide back to my position. It doesn't have a memory function, the seat, so it tips forward, you get in, you pull it back and it stays there to the driver now. So at the moment there's loads of space back here, but I suspect it's probably going to be a little bit tight. I mean, I'm only 5'8" in fairness, and the headroom is, well, yeah, I'm touching the roof in here, and I've got pretty much convinced that if that was back in my position, I'd be touching the backs of the seats. But in fairness, again, it's a 3-door Super Mini. We can't expect it to be cavernous. And carrying people is not the main reason, as I say, why you buy a GR Yaris. You just need to know that you could if you needed to. You need to get a couple of mates down to the pub, or you know, you've got kids, you know, and you need to drop them at school or whatever it is. You know, my 11-year-old fits in the back here absolutely fine, as does a friend. So from that point of view, it does the trick. But as I say, I'm not going to try and kid MD on this is a practical car. And nor should it be, because I say it's not the reason the car exists. But it's got back seats, we need to test it, so I have tested it. It's small, but let's move on to the better stuff, shall we? So the one thing I said right at the beginning was that I didn't want to do was draw comparisons with the first generation car, because I haven't driven the first generation car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about the interior of the second generation, and I'm going to let you decide whether or not it's better or worse. If you've driven one, or you have one, or you've been in one, or whatever, you can decide then whether or not you think it's better or worse. I'm going to comment on this interior and leave it at that. Okay, but you can see there's a difference now, and the main difference is the style of this sort of dashboard here. So let me start the car up. So you've got your start button there. You get that lovely little 3-cylinder thrum that starts up. So we've now got this integrated infotainment screen here. So the one thing I will say, and there's another screen here in front of the driver. So the driver now has a digital display. I think the original car was analog dials, but again, I haven't been in it, so I don't know. So what I will tell you about, sorry, just move that. So what I can tell you about is what this is like in terms of how I find it. Right, the style of it. It's a bit perfunctory, isn't it? You know, in terms of how it actually looks. It's very squared off. It does remind me, oddly enough, of the sort of old dashboards you used to get in rally cars. You know, and they would just then have bolt-on, you know, sort of like, you know, stopwatches and gauges and stuff like that, you know, and then the same thing like that. So maybe that's what they've tried to go for, but it's a bit perfunctory in its look, isn't it? The one thing I do like about it, however, and as I say, I've driven the car up from my house in Surrey up into middle of Wales today. We're not far away from Aberystwyth, so I've done a fair distance in it. What have I done this morning? 216 miles today alone. What I do quite like is all the information is across here, so it's really easy to read, you know, in terms of that. And you can change it, so you can change what you see here. It's not the easiest thing to change, so if you press this one here, if memory serves me correctly, no, he says, there we go, no, Okay, avoid excessive acceleration due to temperature. Okay, there we go, there we are. Right, so what you can do is change it. So I've got a dial at the moment, I've got a rev counter with a speedo in there, and then you can change it with the different things on the side. So then you can change it to, you've got a map in the center, or you can put various different things in the center if you want to change it. So you can have hang on, settings, there's the map, driver support, the ADAS systems, shift position, so you know, gear shift and things like that. You can have that, you can have it blank, or you can have it so it shows you up messages and things like that. And then you've got two small squares at either side. Well, this, in this mode it's showing adaptive cruise mode, and then an economy meter over that side. Or you can change it. So I had it this morning where I had a trip computer on the right and I had the media playing over on the left. Well, that's the one I had there with the map in the middle. Or you can have it where there's various different gauges as well in here. So if you want to change to having a sort of, like, I think, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. I mean, there's a lot to do. Navigation on the left, an economy indicator, fuel economy indicator, you have it blank, you have a boost gauge over there. So you can really tweak it to how you want it, okay? So that's what they've changed when it comes to that. You've got the screen up here, and as you can see, obviously it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it's wireless. It doesn't have a wireless charging pad for your mobile, which I have to admit was a bit annoying, but you know, first world problems. It just means you've got to have a cable. There is a USB connector there, there's another one up in this weird bit of the dashboard here, and you can pop your phone in the little cup holders down here as long as you don't have your coffee flask and water bottle with you. But there is a little cubby at the back of the console here where you can chuck your phone in, or you can stick it in the glove box. So it's not the end of the world. Oh, what's it saying that for? So it's not the end of the world not having a wireless charging pad, okay? That's fair enough. And again, I've just got to think it's a small car. But again, it is quite an expensive small car, as we'll talk about soon. Anyway, there we go. So the infotainment screen is the usual Toyota thing. So you've got the shortcuts up and down here. So you can get straight to your Apple CarPlay. Come on, there we go. Or the inbuilt navigation itself. Or there's your music, telephone. Oh, because it's gone on to Apple CarPlay, so it's got that. Car settings, and that's things just to trip information, to customize things. And then you've got a web browser, notifications. Then at the bottom there's a little cog there, and you can personalize things. So that's for things such as, you know, connecting your Bluetooth device, changing display, sound and media, different bits within the navigation. So it's all the stuff you'd expect, nothing too complicated. Toyota's multimedia system has got better over the last few years. The resolution's better, it's relatively straightforward to use. It doesn't look the best, but dare I suggest, it does what it says it's going to do, and it does what it needs to do. And most people now default to CarPlay or Android Auto anyway. So you'd be using Google Maps, like I did this morning, you know, driving up this morning, I was using Google Maps and listening to Spotify. So there you go. So it does the job, all right? The only thing I will say is this bit here, the climate control system down here. It's fairly basic in its layout, which is good. So you've got temperature dials, because it's dual zone climate. So you get temperature of a passenger and driver. And then you've got a row of buttons. But they're really difficult to read because they've put them in such grayed out sort of like functionality. You've got to learn what they are first. And they're quite small. So you've got to just be aware of what they are. They're not the easiest things to use on the move. I suppose in some respects, if you just put it into auto climate and just vary your actual temperature, that's all you're going to need. But if you do want to move your fan speed control, it's the middle two buttons, and they're quite small to hit on the move. That's the only thing I will say. Now, the materials. Good and bad in some respects, because immediately what you think is this is all oh, there's the Skoda guys doing the photography there. See, I told you. You think this is all cheap grey plastic, and in some respects it is. But what they've done is they've finished it with a sort of matte rubberized paint. So when you touch it, it doesn't feel like hard plastic. There's a little bit of texture to it. It's quite odd. It's quite nice. But you know, as I say, it is still grey plastic. That's what you can't get away from in that sense. But it does the job again, you know, and as I say, it's just, maybe if it was just a little bit more stylish looking, it wouldn't draw your eye to the big expanses of this sort of plastic bit, if that makes sense. But it's okay And as I say, it does the job, but going to keep referring back to price. What, you know, the price of this car, you know, I don't know, it maybe could have been a bit better. Anyway, there we go. What is quite nice, however, as I say, is the fact it's all up in your line of sight, and your driving position as well. It's absolutely fantastic. What a brilliant driving position. Now, they've lowered the seat in the second generation car by 25mm. Again, can't comment on whether that can make much of a difference to me driving, but certainly I think the driving position of this is absolutely spot on, and the seats are brilliant. I mean, as I say, I was along the M4 this morning, you know, just a motorway slog into Wales, you know, sitting along, it's like 70, 75 miles an hour. They're so comfortable. I adore this steering wheel. It's a really nice, what a lovely little steering wheel, just the right size, right diameter, right thickness. It's leather wrapped, simple 3-spoke design, but some of the buttons are a little bit small. That's okay for me because I've got small little hands, and I suppose it does mean that they've managed to design the wheel small as well, so I'll forgive it for that. And you've got things such as your cruise control and track search over on your right side here, and then you've got sort of like things such as media control over on the left side here. So again, can't really complain, it does what it says. Now, the other thing as well, with going back to this console, is this is slightly higher, so of course with the stubby transmission lever it raises it up, which is quite nice, but obviously it will do the same in the manual car. You know, you'll have a slightly higher lever there for you know, a better. And I have to say, if it's the same height as that, the distance from there to there is really nice. So again, focusing on the driving position, focusing on how you feel in the car, that's going to be good. So that has to be commended. I do like that. There's some buttons down by my right knee, which I'll just tell you about. There's the electric mirror control over here. There's a water spray for the intercooler, and there's one for your trip computer over here as well. And then down here there's things such as your automatic headlights and your headlamp leveling system. That's down there. There's 2 paddles as well. Now we'll talk about I'm not going to discuss the gearbox now, but we'll talk about it when we're out driving. So there's 2 paddles which are attached to the steering wheel, and they've got quite a nice feel to them. Column stocks as well. The quality of the buttons and stuff, you know, this here, whilst as I say, you know, we can argue about whether or not it's a harder plastic or not, but the way it's damped is really nice. So when you turn it, it's not, you know, it's just got a nice feel to it, I have to say. So it's got a real proper Toyota feel to it. The same with indicators and wipers, you know, they've got a nice feel to the column stocks. Everything feels good. Storage is actually all right. There's this weird little tray in front of the passenger, which is lined with hard plastic on the bottom, scratchy plastic. That would have been quite nice if they'd maybe put even just a little lip on that, or a little rubber mat in it, just so you could put your phone in there, or your wallet, or a set of keys without it sliding around. So that would be quite a nice idea. Maybe, I don't know if they do it as an accessory, but Toyota, if you don't, think about that. And there's a USB-C port there for some random reason. There's another one down here, and also a 12-volt socket as well. He says just in there. There you go there. 2 cup holders I've spoken about. There's a cubby at the back there, and also there's some they're not particularly long, the door bins, but they're deep. I can drop my big Yeti coffee flask into the door bins, so that's that there. Right, last thing to discuss here is there's now 2 driver modes here. Okay, now I'm going to refer to my notes in this as well, because this does quite a lot now. This does quite a lot. So you've got a drive mode selector here. It used to be all in the one control. They've separated it out now. So this little rocker switch here, if I push that takes me from sport, normal and eco mode. So that's your driving modes. That's effectively your engine mapping, really. Or you have a custom mode as well, which you can go in and configure. You see, it comes up there now, and I can configure what I want. So powertrain in sport, steering in sport, air conditioning in normal. Just normal air conditioning, that's fine, great. And it changes when you go into sport or custom. So it stops being the circular rev counter. There's now a bar along the top of the display, and it's much clearer, you know, sort of like to read across there. So it's a bit more, again, that rally car style, the rev counter going horizontally like that. Then you've got your powertrain, or your power distribution, your torque distribution, GR4 dial here, okay? So when you're in the normal mode, so if you pull it across, if you twist it across to normal, where it's just as it would just normal. Now I've got the torque split here, so apologies for reading this. So the torque split normal is 60% to the front, 40% to the rear, okay? When it's in normal mode. if I push it to track, you push it for track, okay? If I push it into the track mode, and it's now come up here saying GR4 track, that changes the split of torque. It alters it between the standard 60-40 split to 30-70 split. Now, why would you do that? Okay, so here's why. Let's imagine you're on a track, or let's imagine you're on a nice proper little back road, you know, through the Welsh hills and stuff like that, but I'm talking about tarmac road here. You want more grip going into the corner, you want more front end bite as you go into the corner, so that's why you've got more torque going to the front wheels, so 60% at the front, okay? But as you're exiting the bend, as you sort of like give it a real dollop of power, as you're powering out of the bend, so slow and fast out, it then shifts the torque to have the majority then at the back to slingshot you out of the bend, okay? So it digs the power in and then slingshots you out. Otherwise, what you have is more power at the front pulling you out of the bend. So again, that's sort of like traditional sort of like front wheel drive understeer almost. What you want is the almost rear wheel drive oversteer in that situation, so it's powering you through the bend, okay? So that's why, and it does that in milliseconds, and all that's why it does that. So that's your track mode there. Your last one is gravel. So if we're on these sort of like, you know, shingly sort of like types here, and you're having a bit of fun on something like this, then that changes the torque distribution as well, and that's 53-47. Okay, so 53 to the front, 47% to the rear. So it's almost that perfect balance, that 50-50 balance of power, which you want on a loose surface. You've also got two Torsen limited slip diffs on the back axle as well. And that, what that will do is that will split the side to side to move into the wheels to either side, whichever one's better traction. So you've got the two Torsen diffs which are moving power side to side. So it's a really clever little car. And in some respects, I do then understand why it is the price that it is. And I also understand why it drives the way that it does as well, when it's got all that going on underneath. But it's a very special little car to drive, I have to say. And I say it's very, very clever, and it's typical of Toyota. There's a lot of engineering in this car, and a lot of engineering that's come from the WRC program that they filtered down into this road car here, and that's what makes it one of the best drivers' cars, giving the game away here, that's probably on sale today. And I can understand why people put this on such a pedestal. But very, very clever. But the interior, going back to the actual interior, it's okay. It's not the best. I've obviously seen pictures of the original car, and there are bits of it that I sort of prefer in some respects. It just looks on first acquaintance that it's just this big expansive grey. And that's the other thing, Toyota, I just wish they would move away from grey. You know, it's not like it's black, it's grey. Everything, the seats, as I say, have got this black kind of almost microfiber suede in them. That's fantastic because it really grips you. And as I say, they've got the right amount of they've got the right balance of support for you. So you've got good lateral support, a good length of squab. They hold you in position, and you don't move around in them because you're gripped in the seat, and they hold you well, especially even around the shoulders. But they're not so heavily bolstered that they're difficult. It's a difficult car to get in and out of. You know, you're cracking your kidneys against the side of the bolsters. So that's good. But yeah, there are areas where it could be better, but that's my opinion. As I say, if you've got the original car, I'm going to leave you to make your mind up whether or not this is better or worse. But for me, it's okay, but could be better. So this is where the magic happens. It's still the 1.6 3-cylinder turbocharged engine that it was before, in the sense of the same sort of configuration, but it now produces an extra 19 brake horsepower and 13 newton meters of torque. So that puts total output to 276 brake horsepower and 319 newton meters. Okay, they've also done quite a lot to the engine. So there's a strengthened valve train, there's new exhaust valve material, there's for increased fuel injection pressure. Sorry, they've also fitted new lightweight pistons with wear resistant rings. New intake pressure sensor as well. European cars also get a new cooling pack. You know those sub-radiators we were talking about earlier at the sides there, they're new on the car as well. That helps with cooling, and an intercooler water spray as well. But the big news obviously is this 8-speed torque converter automatic that's now available on the car, that this particular one is. But if you do still go for the manual car, that's slightly changed as well, because they've fitted a new dual mass flywheel to accommodate that extra torque that's on the car as well. It's still the most powerful 3-cylinder production engine that's in the world as well, and it's just a phenomenal little powerhouse for this car. Shall we go and take it for a drive? Because I want to. Right, out on the road, 276 brake horsepower, 390 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 62 miles per hour from obviously a standstill, 5.2 seconds, and 143 miles an hour flat out in a Yaris. Now, this is the thing about this car that really has intrigued me today, because I've been driving it for a few days, but this is the first time I've done a proper long drive in it. What have I done? 218 miles today. And what I've noticed is, coming down the M4 this morning, you know, it was perfectly docile, 70 miles an hour, you know, sitting here listening to Spotify, you know, aircon on, a nice, you know, 19 degrees, comfortable seat, comfortable driving position, no backaches, you know, nothing, no bleeding ears, nothing. It's been absolutely fine. It drives like a small car, it drives like a Toyota Yaris when you wanted to. Even the suspension, this was the thing about this car that really intrigued me. I thought, oh, it's going to be quite firm, it's going to be quite hard, you know, it's going to be quite hard edge. Now, I've got a Mini John Cooper Works as a long-term test car through Auto EV, and that is a bouncy little car. This feels like a Jaguar in comparison. This is really quite pleasant. This is nice. If there is a fault, and there is, you know, I'd say tyre noise is quite prominent, but it's only on really coarse surfaces, and dare I suggest, it would be with any small car, whether it's a GR Yaris or not. I don't think it would make any difference whatsoever. You know, obviously it's got quite big wheels on it, you know, and quite tall, you know, sort of like sticky tyres on it, so there's an element of that that has to be taken into account. But it drives just like a Yaris. It's perfectly pleasant, it's lovely. But when you do want to turn the wick up, when you do want to get a bit of a hustle on, oh my goodness me, does this thing go. Oh my goodness me. Now I see what the fuss is about. What an absolute joy this car is to drive. Now, suspension is McPherson struts at the front, and you've got trailing double wishbones at the back. As I say, it's a bit of a mix of the Yaris and the Corolla's platform put together to get all sort of like all the best bits, and it absolute joy in the corners. Now, what you've got is you've got a very precise steering that just has a really nice weight to it. So as you go into a bend, it's got the really nice, like nice weight, very precise. You can really sort of like tuck it in. And remember what I was saying earlier, if you do play around with that switch, if you do play around to sort of like, you know, distribute the torque differently, you can get it so that it throws all sort of like more power at the front, more torque at the front to give you that initial bite in the bend, and then slings it all to the back, or pretty much all of it to the back, to push you through the bend as you come out. It's phenomenal, this car, absolutely phenomenal. And you've got the compliancy still, and these spring and damper ratings are absolutely perfect. I think this is the best blend of sort of like sports and comfort I've seen in a hot hatch in such a long time. It's so good, so good. It's such a comfortable little car at times. It really is. Now, I do want to talk about the gearbox, because as I say, I appreciate a lot of people have got the manual car, you know, and you know, they will extol the virtues of having sort of like a real sort of like lovely little manual shift. I've not driven it. I'm sure it is, from what I've heard, I'm sure it's a lovely little shift that you get out of the gearbox. This is quite a nice gearbox, so this is an 8-speed auto, and it's a proper torque converter automatic. It's not a funny dual clutch system or anything like that. It's a proper torque converter auto. And at the moment, it's just in drive. So everything's set to sort of like normal mode, and the gearbox just in drive. So if I move now the drive mode into sport, okay, so I've got it now in sport. So now it's going to alter the throttle mapping, the engine mapping. You hear It's holding on to the gear now before it upshifts, yeah? The dials have changed now, so I've got the gear shift indication display down in the main bit, and then the rev counter has become a bar that moves along the display. So that's the first thing. Then if I want to move into manual mode, okay, I move the shift lever now across to the right hand side, and I'm now in manual mode. And I get a little arrow up to tell me to shift up, and I've got a right paddle for upshifts, left one for downshifts, and you get that lovely little blip on the throttle just as you do your shifts. This is so good, this car. Oh my word, why is it taking me so long to get behind the wheel of this car? Why is it taking so long, Brian? This fear of missing out. By God, I have missed out. Oh, hello, Mr. Biker. It's a brave move. Oh. And then you just hook it into the bend. Sorry, I'm going quite slow because there's traffic in front of me. And that's the other thing as well. A couple of times this morning on the way up here into Wales, where you've got these nice sort of like open stretches, you could really just, you know, sort of like downshift, a couple of downshifts, and it's instantaneous torque. The power and torque just goes, but it's all feeling very controlled. It just slingshot, and because it doesn't weigh that much, 1,325 kilos is all this thing weighs, and it's 276 horsepower. Fling it in and put your foot down. Oh my God, it just grips and goes. It absolutely grips like what's it to a blanket. I don't want to use all these sort of like corny old phrases that we used to use in sort of like motoring journalism, but it really does stick to the road like to a blanket. Sheep stuff to a blanket. What a joyful little car. I do wonder what the manual would be like. I've got it in my head. I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what that would be like down here. This is good, this is really good. And the other nice thing about it is obviously what you can then do is just move it across, pull that down into the normal mode, and it becomes an automatic Toyota Yaris again. So you do have that double-edged sword. You do have that added usability that you maybe don't get with the manual, but I can't see it being a particularly recalcitrant car, the manual one. But this just gives, I don't know if this, I wouldn't say maybe this doesn't enhance the driving experience, it enhances the usability of the car. That's what I'll say. That's what I think it will do. Now you can maybe, I don't know if the microphone's picking that up, but I've just gone onto quite a coarse surface of road, and now there's a lot more tyre noise. As I say, it's going to happen because it's a small car, and it's a small car that's wearing some quite big wheels and some quite low profile tyres. So that is an expected trade-off, dare I suggest, on this car. But I tell you what, if that's all that I've got to put up with to get a car that behaves like this and drives like this and thrills like this and reacts like this on the road, it is a price worth paying. This is absolutely brilliant. I love this car. I absolutely love this car. Everybody was right. Everybody was right about it. Everyone said, what a sensational little car this thing is. And they were bang on. It's incredible. Now, I've alluded to the price a lot so far during this review, but let's talk about it now. Because I have to admit, I've been really struggling with the price in terms of whether or not I feel it's good value for money or not, okay? So let me just start by saying this. The previous car was heralded as being something of a bargain when it was launched 5 years ago. It was just over £30,000. And it was an awful lot of car for the money, and a lot. And I get they've made some changes to the car, but it has jumped significantly in price. I mean, it really has. So if you go for a manual car with no options on it whatsoever, it's £46,045, okay? 46 bags of sand. The auto, however, puts that up to £47,500, okay? Now then, if you add the metallic paint that this car gets, it's £48,465. So it's a whisker under £50,000 for a Yaris. But I get it, it's not a normal Yaris, I get it, I understand the car, but I'm just thinking, and I think maybe if the old car had been the 45 grand, I probably wouldn't maybe think it so much, but it just seems like a big jump up in price to me. Anyway, there we go. However, it's not the worst of it, because you can get two special editions with this car. You can get the OJ and the Rovon Pera, which are obviously named after the rally drivers, and they're £60,000 each. That's a lot of money, but I do understand that it is a very special little car, and as I say, maybe if the old car hadn't been seen as such a bargain, then I wouldn't struggle with the price of this one. And let's be honest, we live in a world where £50,000 for a hot hatchback isn't out of the question. You know, the Cupra Leon that I've driven, you know, the Honda Civic Type R, you know, the BMW M135, the Audi S3, you know, they are well over £50,000. And, you know, they're not as bespoke in some respects as this Yaris. And the way this car drives, you know, let's be fair, it's a very special little car. But it is £50,000 for a Toyota Yaris. Okay, right, let's move on from that. But you know the other thing that I am struggling with it? Competitors. What do you compare it to? Do you compare it to those other hot hatches that I mentioned? The Cupra Leon, this Honda Civic Type R, you know, a Golf R, a BMW M135? I don't think you do, because it doesn't have the practicality of them, and it just feels a bit more, as I say, bespoke. It feels a bit more special. Is it a half-price 911 GT3? Is it a more practical Caterham? What do you think? So, has it been worth the wait? Do I like the Toyota GR Yaris? No. No, I don't. I don't like this car. I love it. What an incredible little car. I can't quite get my head around this. This is a Toyota Yaris, yeah? It's got a 1.6 litre 3-cylinder engine under the bonnet of this thing that puts out 280 horsepower. It's an absolute weapon of a thing. Yet this morning, coming along to Wales along the M4, it was comfortable, it was relaxing. I had Pink Floyd on the Spotify, I had the air conditioning set to a nice 19 degrees, I had my coffee cup next to me, and I had a very comfortable seat to sit in, and my ears went bleeding. And yet I get into Wales, into the hills round Wales, I turn off Spotify, put my coffee cup down, I move a couple of levers and knobs, and it's an absolute rally weapon. I just can't get my head around it. What a sensational little car. Why have I not driven it up until now? However, I do have a little bit of a caveat with this, okay? And I want to be very clear about this. This is very much a personal thing, okay? So please bear with me on this. I love this car. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And if you have one, you're a very, very lucky person. Would I, however, spend nigh on £50,000 on one? No, I don't think I would. I think for me, personally, the Honda Civic Type R still ticks that box for me. I think that would be the car. If I was looking for a hot hatch and I was spending £50,000 on it, that would be the car that I would choose, because it's a bit bigger and I like the Honda, and it's still a phenomenally good car to drive, but it's just a bit more practical for me, and it just ticks that hot hatch box a little bit better from that point of view, from the practicality side of things. However, see, there's a second however. You can buy a first generation one of these now for under £30,000, and the company Litchfield seemingly does an engine map on them for around about £1,000 that take them to just over 300 horsepower, and I bet they can probably do something quite trick with the suspension as well. So I think that would be my, if I had to have a Toyota GR Yaris, that would be my choice personally. Probably the first gen car taken to Litchfield, because it's just over 30 grand with all the bits and pieces done on it. And remember, it's a Toyota, so it's going to be reliable. There are people that buy these things, you know, they're enthusiasts, the majority of them are enthusiasts, they know how to look after them. And of course, Toyota warranty them. So you're going to have a good, reliable car for many years to come that's going to be even better for even less money than this one. So yes, this is a phenomenally good car. Yes, I absolutely love it. Would I buy it? No. Would I buy a Toyota GR Yaris? Yes, just probably the old one with some bits on it. But if you've got the old one and you want the new one, I'm sure you'll love it just as much. Thank you for probably watching the most indecisive review that I've done on House of Cars. Thanks for watching, as I say. Please remember to make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and then when you've done that, press the wee bell button that's down below, because then you get notified when the next one's uploaded and it's gone live. If you've enjoyed this week's review, and hopefully you have, you know, give it a thumbs up, and of course let me know your thoughts. Have you got one of the first generation cars? Have you got one tuned by Litchfield? Tell me about it. What's it like? Have you driven the new one? Would you keep your old one? Let me know. I'm really keen to know your thoughts on it, because I love this car, but I'm just struggling with that price. That's the only thing about it that's I'm just left struggling. Why have they moved the price up so much over the first gen car? And is the first gen car better because of that? So let me know your experiences down below. Now, if you want to follow me over on social media, you'll find me on Instagram, and it's at House of Cars 1973. So please do give me a follow there. And remember, whether or not it is a small car or a large car, an old car or a new car, a slow car or a fast car, you'll find them all here in the House of Cars. Thanks again for watching. Thank you for your continued support. I'll see you again soon.